and to go beyond the conventional roles that women were expected to settle for.
Elvis Presley and Barbra Streisand, two icons of American music and culture, both possess unparalleled abilities and have devoted followings around the world. Celebrities whose works still influence entertainment today. But what most people are unaware, that there was a single crucial moment behind the scenes where their worlds almost met, in a manner that might have permanently altered the course of music and film for decades. This narrative has been the subject of rumors about a meeting, an offer, and a decision that astounded admirers. Why didn't it happen? Was it ego-driven? Why has Barbra kept quiet for so long? And is it money or something more profound? Following years of conjecture on what actually transpired, Streisand is finally speaking up, and her words provide fresh insight into not only this isn't just a tale about two people, it's also about the people that surrounded and possibly controlled Elvis. Stars, it's a tale of power, lost opportunities, and a haunting pondered for about 50 years. Stay tuned, because after you learn what you might never look at Elvis the same way again. Barbra recently disclosed how for the first time in 60 years, Barbra Streisand had a #1 record. Barbra Streisand is a name that appeals to people of all ages, backgrounds, and continents. Barbra is more than just a singer, actor, or director. Streisand is a well-known artist who has had an impact for over 60 years, and doesn't seem to be fading with her unparalleled voice's remarkable genuineness and unrelenting perseverance. She forged a route that was wholly her own. Barbra Jones Streisand was born in Brooklyn, New York. 1942, she came from humble roots. Her father passed away when she was a baby, and Barbra stood out from an early age, not just because her mother had to work as a school secretary to make ends meet, both her ability and her drive. Even as a teenager, she had lofty goals that she wanted to be well known, but more significantly, she wanted to be remembered. In her late teens, she started performing in nightclubs, and people noticed her deep, emotive voice almost immediately. It was impossible to overlook her uniqueness because she didn't sound like anyone else. She didn't strive to appear like anyone else, therefore her uniqueness became her. Barbra Streisand's greatest strength was signing with Columbia Records in 1962. Choice that would start her music career and quickly cement her reputation. Her first album, The Barbra, when Streisand's record was published in 1963, it immediately earned her 2 Grammys. She received accolades from critics for her vocal mastery, including Album of the Year, interpretive skills, and bold song selections. At the age of 21, she was demonstrating her superiority already. But Streisand didn't stop with music. With her Broadway debut in I Can, she made a spectacular transition into acting. Purchase It For You in bulk, and a few years later, she returned to the funny girl. That film would not only earn her the Best Picture Oscar actress, but also make her known to a far larger public. She went on to become a recording artist and a movie star, which is something that very few people have done. Streisand's career took off in the 1970s and 1980s, reaching extraordinary heights. She starred in popular movies and made records that reached the top of the charts. The manner in which we were kind and won accolades at a remarkable rate. Her voice. You're afraid of anyone or anything that doesn't defend the world. Peace now. She was unparalleled in her ability to be both gentle and forceful. Millions of people were moved by her performances. Among Barbra Streisand's most remarkable achievements is her capacity for change. She didn't stay the same or only depend on her prior achievements. Rather, she consistently pushed herself, and in 1983, she became the first woman to co-star, write, produce, and direct a big-budget movie with Yentl. It took her more than 15 years to complete the picture, which was a very personal endeavor, but she persevered, and when it was finally released, she became the first woman to win a Golden Globe for Best Director and receive critical acclaim. To win that honor, her concept as a filmmaker was bold and well-considered. Showed off yet another aspect of her talent. She wasn't content to merely perform. She wants to mold her own vision instead of someone else's. Barbra has kept putting out new music, frequently with themes of love, optimism, and societal walls, and the Broadway CD Higher Ground are two examples of awareness albums that show her careful choice of songs and her readiness to use her position to express her emotions. She's never been beyond amusement. Barbra Streisand has also shown that she is not afraid to become intimate, and her music reflects that honesty. Make a significant contribution as a philanthropist by supporting issues associated with her philanthropy encompasses education, the environment, civil rights, women's health, and more. Has reached academic institutions, research centers, and advocacy organizations worldwide. Her dedication to using her a fundamental aspect of Barbra Streisand's legacy is her success in inspiring others. She is also renowned for breaking barriers in both the creative and social spheres, which she has long supported truth, equality, and inclusivity. Her accomplishments have made it easier for women to in movies, for Jewish performers in popular culture, and for actors who didn't fit from the Streisand effect to the mold, but they had faith in their own voice. Barbra Streisand's public blunders and political blowback are among the most renowned performers in contemporary history, having achieved decades of fame as her impact on popular culture as a singer, actress, director, and producer is unquestionably. Streisand's career hasn't been without its challenges, like many other legendary figures. Share of public scrutiny, disputes, and criticism. Today, we examine the more complicated aspect of her legacy, the incidents that generated controversy, the choices that divided admirers, and the hate that occasionally followed her as closely as the focus. Let's start with something that has accompanied Streisand for a large portion of her career. Her reputation as a Streisand was a perfectionist who demanded quality from everyone around her and herself from her very first performances. Colleagues have characterized her in interviews as strict and careful, while many respect her dedication to quality and work ethic. Some insiders have referred to her as challenging or domineering. I had seen the Fantastics. In fact, I tried out for the part when I was 16 because, particularly on movie sets, she was 16. For example, during the creation of Yentl, Streisand made her directing debut. Was in charge of writing, producing, directing, and acting in the movie. Her workload was massive, and some detractors claimed she took on too much. Claimed that her domineering style hindered teamwork. While Yentl would become the first woman to win a Golden Globe for Best Director. Should be granted that award. Her meticulousness may have caused her to be criticized, but it also drove her historic accomplishments in many respects. The debate brought attention to the unfair treatment of women in positions of authority. Frequently encounter in Hollywood. Another setting where Streisand has been pushed by the public back is her vocal political involvement. Streisand has been active and a strong advocate for social justice, Democratic candidates, and liberal causes movements. She has used her performances, interviews, and public appearances to support a number of presidential candidates. Appearances to express her political opinions, yet many fans respect her fervor, and she has been condemned by some for her alleged celebrity preaching. or the elitism of Hollywood. Conservative critics have alleged that she was disconnected from the typical American. One noteworthy instance occurred during the George W. Bush when Streisand frequently criticized the president's policies and the war in Iraq. Her remarks made headlines and were often used by both proponents and opponents. Some audience members regarded the political monologues she performed at her concerts to be contentious. Streisand has always claimed that being an artist does not entail sacrificing one's voice as a citizen, and maintained her freedom to express her opinions. Nevertheless, the outcry shows how divisive public political discourse can be. Might come from celebrities in particular. Another topic that attracted media attention: the so-called Streisand effect, which unfortunately retains her name. Moniker Streisand made an effort to hide pictures of her Malibu in 2003. Properties that were included in a coastal records project in California that sought to document coastal deterioration. She filed a lawsuit to get the photos taken down, citing privacy concerns, but the outcome of the lawsuit was the contrary. Pictures that had previously gotten little attention abruptly went viral. As a result of the publicity created by the litigation, the occurrence gave rise to the now commonly used phrase, Streisand effect. Explains circumstances in which efforts to conceal or suppress information only lead to an increased public visibility. Although Streisand's privacy concerns were valid, the case brought attention to the risks of pursuing legal disputes in the digital era, as well as the conflict between prominent personalities' aspirations for public access to information and privacy. Over the years, Streisand has had drawn criticism for some of her remarks in public that were thought to be inappropriate or poorly phrased. Streisand tweeted gratitude for California's environmental protections during the early phases of the pandemic, for instance. Note how much better the air was during the lockdown, when there were no cars on the road. Yet the remark was factually. It's true that several people thought her message was tone deaf given the hardship and financial adversity individuals were going through at the time. Critics claimed it demonstrated a lack of examples such as these demonstrate empathy or knowledge of daily challenges. The larger difficulty that public figures encounter when their remarks are magnified to millions of people, even if they are just modest errors, can lead to a lot of criticism. Another sensitive situation occurred during Streisand's 2019 interview in which he discussed the Michael Jackson documentary, speaking about the movie Leaving Neverland, which contained specific claims of sexual assault. Streisand stated that she accepted the accuser's claims, but they also made statements that were generally taken to downplay the pain, implying that the response was quick, but the victims were happy to be there, and it didn't kill them. And Streisand promptly released a statement outlining her stance and expressing regret for her use of words and her emphasis on helping victims of abuse. Controversy surrounding notable individuals' handling of delicate subjects and the effect of their remarks on advocacy groups and survivors over her career. Another source of contention has been Streisand's connection with the media. She has a reputation for being very private and somewhat wary of interviews. She has denied access to reporters and refused to take part in press tours, causing some reporters to paint her as defensive or even hostile. Claim that her manipulation of media attention comes out as unduly image-conscious, but defenders assert that she merely respects prudence and dignity in a field that frequently rewards sensationalism. In recent years, Streisand has placed greater emphasis on contemplation and legacy. Her 2023 memoir, My Name is Barbra, was highly acclaimed for its candor, wit, and reflection. She told tales from her life successes and setbacks provided valuable perspectives on what it's like to be in the spotlight for so long. The 6-decade career of rock and roll legend Elvis Presley, from modest Elvis Presley's origins as a worldwide celebrity, are frequently described as his unmatched achievements to the music industry have earned him the moniker of King of Rock and Roll. His skill and enduring impact on popular culture. He was born on January 8, 1935. Elvis's ascent to popularity in Tupelo, Mississippi, is quite remarkable. Throughout his career, he transformed musical style and entertaining industry, establishing a legacy that keeps artists and admirers worldwide. But what was it about Elvis that made him so unique? It'd be his strong voice, captivating stage presence, or even his capacity to breaking down barriers in music and film. This video delves deeply into the Elvis Presley's life, an examination of his early years and ascent to fame, music, music, and the memory he left behind in both pop culture and music. Vernon and Gladys Presley were the parents of Elvis Aaron Presley. Growing up in poverty in a 2-room house in Tupelo, Mississippi, Elvis was the only child of his parents, and he had a close relationship with both his father and mother. Gladys had trouble obtaining stable employment, and this unpredictability meant that despite the difficulties that families frequently encountered, music was always a vital component of Elvis Presley's life. After hearing gospel music in church, he became admiration for the emotional depth and strong melodies of the genre. As a child, Elvis would listen to a variety of rhythm and blues and gospel country blues styles that would eventually combine to create the basis of his distinct sound in 1948. After relocating to Memphis, Tennessee, with his family, Elvis went to Humes High School. He started honing his musical skills here, playing it. He sang with friends, played the guitar, and occasionally went to local talent events, but at the time, he was not well known to the general public. It wasn't until 1953 when in Memphis, Elvis entered Sun Studio to record a song as a present for his mother, which marked the beginning of his career. Your Heartache started a personal story when he recorded My Happiness, and a shakily amateur recording, but it was plenty to grab Sam's attention. Sun Studio Phillips's owner, Phillips, realized that Elvis had a unique sound that incorporated gospel and country blues influences in a way never heard before. In Elvis recorded "That's All Right," his first official single, in 1954. Went on to become a huge hit. The song, which combined country and blues elements, was revolutionary in its approach. It was a moment that would permanently alter the path of music history. Popularity. Elvis started giving frequent performances at Memphis's local clubs and venues. His distinctive voice, vivacious theatrical presence, and rapid rise in popularity charm attracted enormous audiences, and big record labels quickly adopted Elvis. Secured a contract with RCA Records in 1956, and his career began. Burst into popularity, he put out a number of successful tunes that year, such as Heartbreak Hotel, which peaked at #1 on the Billboard pop charts, and Elvis Presley's first album. That year, the commercial simply titled Elvis Presley was also released. Elvis Presley's popularity extended beyond his music, as seen by his stage presence and good looks. His crisp clothes and pompadour haircut were groundbreaking. Elvis's self-assured swagger gave young people a new attitude and sense of style. Of America, his shows were thrilling. He had a manner of moving that his well-known hip-age dance routines, which were controversial at the time, had never been seen before. By the late 1950s, Elvis Presley had made the time a defining element of his performance. Become well known throughout the world, and his impact went beyond only music. Made appearances on TV programs such as The Ed Sullivan Show, where he rose to fame as his performances throughout the time were frequently banned because of their controversial. His actions merely increased the public's interest in him, and Elvis Presley is frequently given credit for to influence the current state of music. He was a rock and roll pioneer who combined several styles of music that combines pop, country, gospel, and rhythm and blues. Helped popularize rock and roll by creating a sound that appealed to a variety of audiences. One of Elvis's ability to reach a wide audience was one of his greatest gifts. His music cut beyond racial and cultural barriers. His appeal spanned various racial and ethnic groups, making him he became a bridge between black and white music, one of the first really universal stars. Customs exposing listeners to rhythm and blues and other genres that have formerly restricted to African American communities. Elvis made a number of recordings over his career. Famous songs, many of which are still mainstays of contemporary popular music, songs like Can't Help Falling in Love and Jailhouse Rock, Hound Dog Love Me Tender, have woven themselves into the history of music. His emotional and rich voice served as a potent medium for love and heartache, happiness and sadness, cultural appropriation. Elvis Presley's emotional hardships and downfall during his military duty are unquestionably one of the most recognizable individuals in music history. Credited with transforming rock and roll and influencing entertainment world in the middle of the 20th century. He worked from the middle of the 1950s until his tragic passing in 1977, but his impact lives on anyway, just as much as Elvis, despite being honored for his revolutionary contributions to music and society. His life and career weren't free of share of difficulties and conflicts. These problems included